So I was doing some prep work for this weekend's content, some stuff to get us ready for Season 1 Reloaded, and I was reminded of a report that put forth the idea that we're still missing 6 maps that were apparently from Datamined files pointing towards Season 1 as a release time frame. One of those is accounted for with shipment upcoming, but 5 additional unaccounted for maps. What's the deal with that? Today we're breaking it down and what you should know, and if there will be some surprise additions of upwards of 5 new multiplayer maps in Modern Warfare 2 with this mid-season update. Should you get your hopes up for that, or is that a bit too good to be true? We'll be getting to the bottom of that here in this video. So that said, drop your thoughts as we go along down below, and if you enjoy the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay updated with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. We're on the road to 600,000 subscribers, so if you'd like to join the community, I'd love to have you. Now, we've got a lot to discuss, and we'll get to that in just a moment, but before we jump into everything, today's video is brought to you by Enlisted, a multiplayer shooter about the Second World War, which is available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. From grinding one singular game the last 2 months here non-stop, I've been looking to re-expand my games to play. If you're enjoying ground war in this year's Modern Warfare, you'll likely get a kick out of the mass-scale battles and Enlisted with dozens of soldiers, light and armored vehicles, as well as aircraft clashes. Following the recent Pacific Ocean update, Japan is now in play with new tanks, mines, mechanics, and more to enable gameplay to go even further. New squads, missions, weapons, and equipment have been added recently, adding much more to interact with, and with different specializations across classes of snipers, pilots, tankers, flame troopers, medics, and stormtroopers, there's plenty to do and experience. For the completionists out there like me, there's plenty to go towards in regards to soldier advancements, choosing skills that affect battle tactics, or oppositely, if you're more the laid-back player, you can end up having a more sandbox approach and create custom missions in-game. There's plenty to do no matter what you're looking to get out of it, so if you're at all interested, you can download Enlisted for free with a link in the description below and get additional bonuses through said link. Thanks to Enlisted though for sponsoring this video, but for now, back to your regularly scheduled content. So we know of Season 1 Reloaded's offering that we've detailed before. What's still remaining from the Season 1 roadmap, we have a lone weapon of the Chimera, a lone map of Shipment, 2 operators of Gaz and Klaus, and our first raid for Spec Ops. Beyond that, that's it. We've discussed how there might be a surprise or two here thrown in the mix with everything, because that's surely not a whole ton of content, and on the MP side of things, it kind of feels like players are being shorted. Apples to apples, Modern Warfare 2019 Season 1 on the multiplayer side of things introduced Crash, Vacant, Shipment, Port as a ground war map, Cargo, Atrium, Shipment as a gunfight map, and Winter Docks. 7 maps, and so far we've only seen 1 in multiplayer by comparison for Modern Warfare 2. Now, again, some of those were gunfight maps, not all of those were introduced all at one time with one singular update, and we didn't have large offerings like Warzone and DMZ coming in that season as well, but perhaps this is just hardcore coping, but there has to be more than just 1 for this entire season, or 2 for this entire season overall, right? But this rumor that was proposed even before the launch of Modern Warfare 2 Season 1, that 5 additional ones on top of Shoot House and Shipment that we've seen already revealed and confirmed, is that too good to be true? So where this comes from, back before the launch of Season 1, we had a data miner, Saba, who has been accurate in his findings before, tweet about 7 multiplayer maps found in the game files. Those first 2, of course, being Shipment and Shoot House, but the others being Drainage, Regional, Observe, Sunken, and Oil Field. Some of these may or should sound familiar. Obviously, we have Shoot House and already Shipment is guaranteed, but the rest, what are these maps? Some had images, others not so much. So let's start on the definitive side of things here. Oil Field, by the image associated with it, it looks to be that Rohan oil location in Al Mazrah, currently playable in Warzone and DMZ. Surprisingly, this was even something that we'd seen leak all the way back with our first leaks for Modern Warfare 2. If you remember all the way back to June and July when Warzone Mobile's alpha was leaking stuff, it was part of that stuff. That was our first look at this map in particular, and a lot of people actually thought this would be a launch map because it was listed with so many other maps that did come at launch. But it is still apparent this is coming at some time. Sunken as well had an image associated with it, this being a portion of the map that was Sawa Village, the flooded area of Al Mazrah, down in the southern portion of the map. Now, the image associated with this was the sunken ship off that coast, so not quite that village portion, which leads me to believe this is a simple sort of landmark or marker of the map overall, perhaps indicating a bigger portion to come as a ground war map, perhaps, where land, sea, and air all play into the gameplay loop, because obviously we're not going to have a 6v6 map just set out in the middle of the ocean. Now, beyond that, this is where it gets a bit more inference-based, and we don't have as many guarantees. Observe is likely referring to Observatory, which, if you've played Al Mazrah's map and have played classic COD games, you'll recognize that that is Dome from Modern Warfare 3 and as seen in Ghost, and most recently Vanguard as well. This could be another introduction introduction here to that multiplayer offering. Drainage, oddly enough, is being considered and likened to that 2v2 map that we saw by the same name in Modern Warfare 2019 after Cold War was well into its life cycle. Is one of those maps that just dropped kind of out of nowhere. And then regional, well, there was no indicator for what this one could be. So 5 additional maps on deck. What do we even do with this information? Because we really haven't heard too much discussion about it. Firstly, will all of these come to Season 1 Reloaded? As much as I'd love a jam-packed second half of the seasonal content, I'm not getting my hopes up by any means for all 5 of these. Maybe we see 1 to 2 of these, perhaps in addition to shipment as surprise content, but I think this may be a case of Datamined content being misinterpreted to a degree. One thing that you have to keep in mind with Datamined content is that it's a simple snapshot of a developmental perspective at that one given time. We don't see the moving parts or the timelines of anything. We just see a mention of something in the game files as of it being updated with a new version of the game. So there are many more things behind the scenes that we may not have access to. So with that in mind, and also recognizing that COD is working normally about 2 seasons ahead on developing the content, it's very possible that these maps, some of them, if not potentially even all of them, could be for beyond Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, maybe even outwards of Season 4 to a degree. But what about the maps themselves? How will these play if they're introduced? Oilfield and Sunken can absolutely be ground war maps in my mind. Observe, if Observatory, could be both. A smaller scale ground war map that is just the peak of that mountain like Saeed would be, on a smaller scale by comparison to Sarif Bay, Guiharo, and the other maps that we've seen already. But honestly, it could also just be that dedicated 6v6 map, just the reimagination of Dome. And that can be said for a lot of the ground war segments. I mean, Fortress is a 6v6 map that is a part of Al Mazrah, but the larger portion of it, way bigger. Mercado is Guiharo in 6v6 format, so you could easily work with that. And then if Drainage is what we assume it to be, that might be an indication that Gunfight actually is coming. Again, that sort of oddball that we had confirmed, but literally has never been mentioned by Infinity Ward. So definitely interesting to see how that one will all break down. But what about the future? Let's just say, theoretically, we do take this as a sort of cautionary tale. We get 1 to 2 of these in addition to shipment with Season 1 Reloaded as surprise content. When would we be able to see the rest of these? So if we're not going to see these all at once, it doesn't necessarily negate these potentially coming. But what is odd is that we haven't seen much stuff data mined this year. So with things like Castle being rumored for Season 2 and then additional maps from this list being out there as well, maybe we're seeing follow-up seasons being bolstered out a little further as opposed to just this initial Season 1 offering. I mean, sure, by sheer volume, we have absolutely had a ton of stuff in Season 1. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to seem like complaining because we have gotten a lot of stuff here across the board. It's just we've kind of extended that overarching experience to try and offer something to everybody, where by doing so, offering more styles of content, you're shrinking the amount of each categorical piece of content. So by offering 4 to 5 things here across multiplayer, Spec Ops, Warzone, and then DMZ, you also then limit the amount of stuff you get, say, for 6v6, as seen by only 1 map introduced in Season 1 thus far. So perhaps with Season 1 offering those 4 major introductions here, maybe we're not going to see those major introductions going forward into Season 2. So maybe we have 3 to 4 to 5 maps saved up per season for multiplayer going forward, but it's just this one that kind of is off balance in that regard. My hope is that perhaps all of this is right. Perhaps that we do see more maps coming in the future, but honestly, the very minimal, my most basic ask is that we just at least exceed Vanguard's 2 multiplayer maps a season set precedent, because that was a franchise low. I want this game to succeed and win people over consistently, but by neglecting the core audience of 6v6 players, offering up at max 2 multiplayer maps a season, well, that's limiting yourself and severely hindering that opportunity for success before you even really begin. So fingers crossed we end up getting more and more here in regards to the multiplayer experience and offering, and not just necessarily making it be an afterthought, but right now it seems like we have a decent bank of what could be up on the horizon, whether in this upcoming mid-season update or beyond, between Season 2, Season 2 Reloaded, Season 3, and beyond. So that said, I wanted to fill you guys in because, again, this was something that I hadn't really seen too much coverage on. It was rather interesting that it came out about a month ago now at this point, but it eluded so many of us. So for that, that's what we're gonna call it. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this year? Do you think we'll see some of these maps introduced? And if so, how many do you think we'll see perhaps in the mid-season update, if any at all? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and anything COD related. If you'd like to join the community, I'd love to have you. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.